Hello, welcome back to What's New in Newport News. I'm Cheryl Morales of the Newport News Tourism Office, and with me right now is Michael Preble. He is the Program Director and Curator for the Peninsula Fine Arts Center, which is also known as PFAC, and we're here to talk about their new exhibit, Aquatics. Thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
PFAC is located on Museum Drive in the Mariners Museum Park.
It is.
And I know that you've been established for over 50 years.
We have. We celebrated our 50th anniversary last year.
Oh.
And so I guess you could say we're starting on our next 50.
There you go.
So.
Well, what makes PFAC unique?
Well, we do a number of different things that just not everybody does. We do a lot of exhibits. That's one of our focuses. And we don't have a collection. So we're able to kind of focus on the exhibits, on changing exhibits, change things at a fairly rapid rate. We've got 4 different galleries, so we can do a number of different things. And then we have an education program that goes along with it. We have a studio arts school where we offer classes in painting, clay, a number of different things that we also run throughout the year. Lots of stuff for kids and families. We have a shop, so we sell artwork by regional artists. Wow. So we do a lot.
That's great. So always changing,
it is
always
indeed.
New, you know? So always an opportunity to revisit PFAC. So with that said, Aquatics.
Aquatic. Well, the show is about water. And it came to be from a number of different sources. Actually, the kernel for it began in 2010 when I started to stumble across some things that I thought would make a really interesting show. But I had no show for them. I had no context for it. And so over a couple of years, I began to realize that water might be an interesting theme. Aquatic might be an interesting title for it. And so I put together these kind of diverse components to make 4 different exhibitions out of the theme of aquatic.
Okay, and very appropriate for the region that we live in as well, too.
Well, I think so.
Yes.
I live in Norfolk, so I drive across the water every day, so I've got water on the brain. I see all these ships, and so I pass by the fleet every day, so that's on the brain. I have spent a lot of time in my past history in Florida, Louisiana, California, so the beach has always been kind of a deal. So it just seemed like the right theme. And then the trick was to turn that into a series of exhibits that were sort of contrasting but interrelated in some fashion.
Themed, yes, with the water, but still having some kind of connection. Yes.
And a distinct identity. And so my point of view always is to bring in good art, to offer a kind of an entertaining and yet educational experience. When I can, I like to throw a little history in, and sometimes a little sort of popular culture. So the components kind of fit in really well. That a day at the beach is just that. It's a day at the beach. So I've got some beach pictures. There's a piece by Megan Fry called Dog Beach. There is a rainy beach day. There are a couple of things like that. And then a day at the beach for some people is they don't get to go to the beach, but they have a backyard pool. I have this giant painting of this fabulous backyard above ground pool. I have some sandcastle photographs that are kind of interesting. I have a couple of posters in celebration of a couple of icons that died in 2013. Annette Funicello died this past year, and so I have a beach party movie poster. Esther Williams died, so I have I think it's called Neptune's Daughter poster. And of course, you can't have a day at the beach without representing Jaws, the movie, in some fashion.
Right.
So there's that.
Now, what gallery is that found
That's in the large Ferguson Gallery. That's where the biggest pictures are that are, again, all about the day at the beach. Some regional artists, Barclay Sheiks, Betty Anglin, are represented in it, as well as some New York artists that we went up to galleries in New York and brought a few things down. So it's a nice, diverse group of things. There are a couple of photographs about Sandy that are very eloquent and talk about the beach from that point of view. So it's kind of a fun look at all these different points of view.
Absolutely, very diversified.
Then I wanted to have a show about boats. Newport News Shipbuilding is underwriting the show, but boats seem to have play a role here. So I called that particular group Floating. The Mariners Museum was very generous in lending to us. So they lent an Alfred Stieglitz photograph, a very famous early 20th century photograph called The Steerage. that shows the different, in this single picture, it shows the sort of two decks with a well-to-do up top and a not so well-to-do below, and it became a kind of a symbolic picture of class distinctions in the history of photography. They also lent a really wonderful original poster of the Normandy with that great big bow sort of coming out at you, and again, from a graphic design point of view, it's really interesting. And Baron and Ellen Gordon, that have that wonderful folk art collection that live in Williamsburg, were kind enough to let me kind of roam through their house and pick 3 things, actually, including one that I had seen in 2010. It's a giant ship by a folk artist named Keith Goodhart, and it's made of little bits of wood. They're say no bigger than this, all sort of assemblage together to create a ship kind of form. Really interesting piece.
Very nice. It's a different media too.
It is. It is.
You know, so you're getting exposed to a lot of different variety with regards to one theme.
Yeah,
You know?
and it was kind of fun. And then back in 2006, we had done a very large Japanese print show of works from the 17th century to about 1940, and this collector is in the region. And I thought, well, you know, this would be a really nice time to bring some Japanese prints back. Japanese artists do so many different things with water, with how they portray the water, with the theme that the water plays in a particular print. And so I talked to him, and we were sort of debating what can we do. And I thought Hiroshi Gei, who's one of the most well-known 19th century Japanese printmakers, would be a good choice if he had enough, and he did. And so we have about 45 of these prints that are really interesting. They're all original. They're all authentic prints.
And all water related.
And all water related.
Wow.
And for artists, it's a really interesting thing to see, because you see how sometimes a waterfall might be in a certain pattern, or you see rapids in another kind of pattern. So from a graphic point of view, it shows you a lot about how artists portray things. So it's
the famous tsunami.
Well, we have that. Yes. That's actually a Hokusai print, but we actually have that also.
Gorgeous.
That's in the boating room because there are actually some little boats that are down in the bottom of that great wave.
You know what? I just noticed the great wave. Yeah. I'm going to have to relook at that. Okay.
And then actually did a PowerPoint for educational purposes of all the different versions of the great wave that exist. And people are now sending them to me. There's one great wave where the wave is actually the Cookie Monster.
Oh.
And that all the boats down at the bottom are these little cookies that the monster's going after. Anyway, we don't have that in the show. And then in the back room, we have actually something that started back in 2010 also, that we have our biennial every 2 years. And back in 2010, an artist named Christian Johnston submitted a proposal to take one of our galleries as a complete gallery and do an installation in the space. And at the time, I had decided somebody else was going to sort of win that honor.
Yes.
But I said to Christian, I really like this, so let's hang on to it, and I'll look for a context for it. Again, back in 2010. And then eventually Aquatic came to be. Eventually Christian was still around, lives in Brooklyn, but he's a Virginia native. And so we showed his work, and this is a show called Swimming Holes. It's Christian Johnston and his associate Deborah Gitterman. And he went to upstate New York, to Greene County, and photographed people at their famous swimming holes. Now these are not, swimming pools. These are rivers and mountain streams and that kind of thing. And Deborah, his associate, I should say, she interviewed people and got quotes, wrote up copy, and it tells a really interesting story because people are very kind of nostalgic about having a swimming hole to go to. Some of the people talk about themselves psychologically and the kind of really terrible childhood they had and how liberating it is to be able to swim in a mountain stream, that kind of thing. And they're photographs of just plain folks, their families, their couples. These weren't
the memories.
These aren't cover magazine people. These are just plain folks.
Sure.
And so for me, to do a water theme, to have this kind of variety, and yet it sort of intersects in the single theme, but it does so many different things. It was really, quite frankly, kind of exciting.
I can't wait to go see it. Thank you so much. That's all the time we have right now. But I know, what is your website so we can go get a sneak preview and before going to the museum?
The website is pfac-va.org. And we'll have all of this, and we'll have information about our fall classes and special events coming up, and everything that's going on is on the website.
Fantastic. Thank you again for being with us.
Okay. Thank you.
And I want to thank you for joining us. And as always, you can go to our website to find out more information about PFAC and all the other incredible things to see and do in Newport News at newport-news.org. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for watching Newport News TV. You can see this and all NNTV local programs online anytime at nntv.nngov.com.